The Westwood One Podcast Network.
Never quit. Team Never Quit Radio.
You ever think about quitting?
It's the combat of life, hammering the snot out of you.
Well, stand by, dig in deep, and get ready to get fired up with us.
Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast, the #1 podcast that inspires you to fight on. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell.
Our mission is to help you embrace the suck of life, to teach you the values of working your ass off, and to interview the most hard-charging people on planet Earth.
We know life is hard. It's time for you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let us teach you to persevere in every environment imaginable by sharing real-world lessons learned by those who never quit. That's right. It's time, Marcus, for us to help them defeat the negative insurgency in their lives.
You fire me up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Do you believe in miracles, Marcus? Do you believe in miracles?
I thought you were going to go through the whole thing, the whole one.
No.
What was the lead up? Do you remember? Who cares, right? It was just, do you believe in miracles?
That's it. It was a countdown.
Oh, my God.
It was a count. 10.
It's going to happen?
9. I can't believe it. They're
this?
passing about 7. 6. Oh, my God. This is going to happen. 5. 4. 3. Do you believe in miracles? 1. Bob. The nation. The world
He
goes
started rolling
nuts.
it almost with 23 seconds. There was a big one in the hold, right? It was almost a breath hold through, even in the movie. Just
Bro, they got a couple shots on Craig,
oh yeah,
dude.
man, they blew down there.
Dude, I'm telling you what, I cannot speak enough of the impact of this sporting event.
Yeah, there is a couple of them that it doesn't matter what time when you watch it, even if you're not into the sport, it turns into an American thing.
Bro, I'm telling you what, and you guys laughed at me before when I talked about Bruce Jenner and Caitlyn Jenner. I don't know how to describe that now. Bruce Jenner, and God bless you, Caitlyn. I hope you're happy and living life as you want to be, and you're free. I love you for it, all right? But, you know.
He was awesome.
Dude, he was the Wheaties. He was the Wheaties guy, bro. And I wanted to be a decathlete.
Yeah, I'm a Jenner fan.
Yeah, are you?
Yep.
Thank you.
I
Well,
am,
you also talked about who else? Who are the two dudes?
Oh, Dave and Dan.
Dave and Dan. They were on.
Carl Lewis.
Oh, 1984, bro. Who else?
Johnson. Age.
Yeah, Ben Johnson, Canadian, illegal steroids. What else? What are some other great ones? Huh?
Isn't that terrible? I mean,
That's
went through all that. That's all. Every time you say his name, that's saying everyone. You know, that's what comes up with it. All that hard work, all that talent, running in the Olympics, man.
Yeah, that's what happens.
It's what happens
right?
when you cheat, though.
The Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, all just tarnished.
Listen, you know, dude, we talk about this all the time. 1,000 attaboys are gone to hell with one. Oh, shit.
Oh yeah. Damn it.
If you are tuning in for this special edition, Olympic edition, although we're not anywhere near the Olympics, this special
like Christmas
Olympic
in July?
edition, Team Never. I
Wish
just
the
like
Olympics-
saying.
Did you watch Phelps try to swim that shark?
No,
Shark Week?
no,
You didn't watch Shark Week?
no.
You're from Florida, aren't you?
That's why I don't watch Shark Week. I'm in the water
Great
a
point.
lot. You know, more shark attacks happen from Vero Beach to Miami
Bull
than
sharks,
anywhere.
right?
Yeah.
They tear y'all's asses up, down
Oh,
there.
dude, it's bad.
Tigers,
I heard
right?
that was a huge disappointment. It was a computer-generated shark, and it built it up as though he was actually going to swim against the shark,
Oh.
which is so absurd. I can't believe someone would think that that's even a contest. It's like, can
That hurts my feelings. I thought he was going to race the shark.
Can Usain Bolt outrun a lightning bolt? That's just
Wow,
idiotic.
that's
Right.
although
Right.
last race,
Yeah.
his last race, he pulled up lame. Just happened a couple days ago. He had a pull.
Age now, man.
Age. He ain't no sunshine. But he has won. Let's go back to greatness, Olympic greatness, right? And that's what we're talking.
Man, you're right. We know, because being in the water, ain't no way in hell you're out swimming a great white shark. Trust me, we try. I tried every time I got in the water. I was a kicking son of a bitch. You don't even know.
sharks.
Boy, I do love
I
them,
think
right?
you do love him.
like a hidden kind of.
We ought to get a tank out here and just put one in there
One
as
in
a
there.
pet.
Yeah,
And like you try and calm it and all that. I love it. Okay, now for one of our sponsors. Marcus, what is the most powerful thing that you remember from downrange? The what? The lack of quality of...
sleep.
How many hellholes did you sleep in? How many times did you find yourself in the dirt?
Find a pillow, roll, wherever you can. But that's huge. You forego that. And I tell you what, when you get older, get married, and have kids, and like to be comfortable, that's the first thing you want.
Is great bedding. Well, guess what?
Mojo and I, that was the only thing in our house that had to be high speed.
Was your bedding?
Was the bedding. Had to be the top of the line sheets. We would go he and I would go into Bed Bath & Beyond, me and him with the shopping cart, and literally just find 1,000 threads, all that kind of. This is back before, but now the bedding is so high. The sleep technology is great, which is great too, because now we're getting to that age where we like to sleep in a bed with a soft bedding and pillows and all that. But
well, I tell you what, that bolster sleep pillow that I got, and I know you guys were saying you dug it too, man, is unbelievable. And the Bolster Sleep Company is dedicated to help you sleep well so you can live life more fully, because that's what we definitely need. We weigh our mission and our business equally. Listen, Bolster provides premium hybrid mattresses which combine real springs with mid-layer of cooling foam for a much cooler sleeping experience. Now, I don't know about you all, but when I went to Afghanistan, something broke in my regulator, so I run hot. Do you run hot, bud?
Yeah, raise your hand if you have a bed partner that likes several layers of covers and you sweat like a...
I like it real cold in the room. The colder it is outside, I'll even open the door, crank the fire up, and it drives Melly crazy.
My lady burns hotter than I do, man. Yeah, she's hotter than I do, which is the first time in history.
This whole like heat wicking technology.
I'm not talking about those rare
critical.
meat sweat nights where your eyeballs are sweating. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the regular sweat.
I know what you're
I
talking
had
about.
one last
Your
night.
eyelids are sweating. This is a good one, right?
I tell you what, I could have used a Bolster mattress last night after the meat sweats I had. All right, Bolster's Tencel fabric wicks away heat and moisture.
Meat sweat proof.
It is meat
That's
sweat
the
proof.
end of the read.
While individually pocketed coils absorb movement so they can feel people
survive
getting in
the
and
meat
out
sweats.
of bed, right?
It keeps you cool through the meat sweats. There it is, right there.
Bolster sleep
Pillow.
technology keeps you
Yeah.
cool through the meat sweats.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there's another component of this wizard, right, that you love most about this country.
Made
Tell us.
and manufactured, not just designed. It is made and manufactured here in the United States. When they came to us and we found that out, that was a distinguishing factor because there were a few people that were thinking about advertising with us in this market segment, and that was a game changer for me. I put a lot of weight in that.
I know you do. And there's another aspect of this country and their mission statement that really hits home for me. And it says, we are passionate about our mission, providing high-quality, hybrid mattresses and bedding so that we can provide scholarships and funding to vocational and technical schools around the world, right? And they do this down in Haiti, man. And I've done missionary work down in Haiti, and I'll tell you what, those people need all the help they can get. And Bolster, which is in the general vicinity of Houston, they're right around here, right near us, man. They are living this mission to the T. Now, here you go. If you make the switch to a restful night's sleep today at bolstersleep.com and use the promo code TNQP, you will get $125 off a mattress or adjustable bed. And it is Christmas time, and everybody wants a new mattress for Christmas. I know it.
Everyone.
Again.
Particularly the meat sweat.
That's bolstersleep.com, promo code Marcus.
Meat sweats.
No! Promo code TN.
TQP.
Promo code TNQP.
I thought we were still doing the meat sweats.
We just got fired.
Promo code TNQP, and you get that 125 off. All right, let's move on.
Are you going through withdrawals? Are you suffering from the meat sweats? If so.
Oh, sweet Jesus. If you are turning in for this 1980 Olympic special edition of TNQ Podcast, if this is your first time on listening to us, we are super fired up that you're here. If you want to know more about what we do, who we are, go visit us at tnqpodcast.com. You can see why we're doing it, all the different shows. You can download them off there if you want. On top of that, you can also go to iTunes on any mobile device. You can subscribe to the Team Never Quit podcast, put us on play, on repeat, have us in your brains, and you will absolutely love it. I'm telling you. You believe me, Wizard?
Hey, there's no greater drug than radioactive cocaine, and that's what you are, friend. Radioactive cocaine.
How long you been sitting on that one? That was
Radioactive caffeine. Don't want to make it illegal. Radioactive
Certainly,
caffeine.
we don't want it to be illegal.
It has to be illegal because it can only exist in that. If you pass it out, right?
That's tight, but I love it. All right, so if you're coming back for more, God bless you, man. We're so fired up. This is going to be a great show for you. You are going to absolutely love it. If you're from my generation, a generation before, then this is going to capture you right in your heart, man, because we have somebody coming on air today. It's difficult to describe the magnitude of this event in our sporting history, really in the history of our country, as it played out during the Cold War, as it played out, during a very trying time in history. We had a lot of negativity going on around the world, and the Olympics seemed to put all that together in this one culminating event of the 1980 Olympic hockey competition, which all came to a head when those young college boys from the USA, I can't stop myself when I do it. You just stood up and you were going to hand over our heart. Oh, when the flags go up and then America just leaves them behind, dude. That's my favorite moment. I love that.
It's purely natural, man. When our country's doing something, like nothing else matters, right? It doesn't matter where you're from, how much money you got, what color you are, what religion you are. I mean, everybody's wrapped in their flags.
Totally.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And when we win, man, you could have hated the guy next to you for all your life, man. Get in here,
I love you, man.
It's literally one of those where it sucks every one of your emotions in to win. Even the most pacifist, even the preachers, right?
Why do you think it does, bro?
And because we survive with each other. It's kind of like watching them go to war, right? It's the fight, it's the battle, it's all the hard work that all of the collective put in to prove that we do that. That we love this.
I love
That's what it's kind of all about, right?
Totally, it's all about that. Well, listen, if you don't really know what we're talking about right now, we're going to get you.
That's fine, because we haven't told you.
Oh, my goodness. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are welcoming to the show the goalie from the 1980 Olympic hockey team, Jim Craig, to the show. And this guy you're going to love him. I mean, he's got so much knowledge, so much depth. I mean, he's really interesting. But what we need to do first, Wizard, is we got to get him up to speed, don't we?
Yeah, I think we need to tell this story because you read about this, and so many times you're going to hear this is at least the biggest U.S. sporting event of the 20th century, the greatest upset in sports history.
Would you go ahead?
I will.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to use the words here of Evan Andrews. By February 22nd, 1980, the U.S. hockey team had already become the surprise story of the Lake Placid Olympics. They had blazed their way through the early stages of the competition. Coach Herb's Brooks squad was the youngest Olympic team ever fielded by the United States. Nearly all the players were still in college, yet against all odds, they had advanced to the medal round and a showdown with the Soviet Union.
Silver, right? It was a silver on that one?
That's right. This was the round right before the gold. Compared to the American amateurs, the Soviet team was a murderer's row of seasoned professionals and stars in the making. Their lineup boasted top-shelf talent in wingers, excuse me if I don't pronounce this correctly, Boris Mikhailov, Valery Karmalov, and they had the world's best goaltender in Vladislav Tretiak.
Tretiak, wasn't that in a movie?
I think that was in The Saint.
Yes, I remember
The
that.
villain in The Saint. Like most Russian teams, the 1980s squad had a habit of scoring early and often, overwhelming opponents with their skating and surgical puck handling. In 20 years, the United States had managed to beat the Soviets only once, when they had pulled off an upset win in the 1960 Olympics. Since then, the red-jerseyed juggernaut had won gold in 4 straight Winter Games. Only 2 years earlier, Coach Brooks' U.S. team had received a 10-3 drubbing by the Soviets during an exhibition match at Madison Square Garden. Quote, "It was hard to even warm up." U.S. winger John Harrington later told author Wayne Coffey, "We weren't just playing when the game started. We were watching them play, and by the time we felt like we belonged on the ice with them, it was 8-0. End quote. The New York Times later wrote that the Americans appeared disorganized and outclassed during the defeat. But Brooks took the route in stride. He said, "Sometimes a good kicking is good for the quality athlete and the quality team."
I love that, Herb.
If anyone in hockey knew the value of a good kicking, it was Herb Brooks, the former Olympian. He was the last man cut from the 1960 U.S. squad. Brooks was notorious for his demanding and often ruthless coaching style. That's a big part if you watch
the movie.
If you watch the movie, the Disney version Miracle.
What's on the front of your jersey? What's on the front, man? What's on the front, kid? That's what I'd say. I love it. Oh, who did it? Who did it? Our man, Kurt Russell. Kurt, if you listen to this, we've got to have you on. Please come on our show. I'm sorry, that was shameless.
Dig that dude.
I love him, dude.
He's great.
I love him.
He gave you some advice once.
He did. Man, I got a chance to meet him on the set of Deepwater. Yeah. We went out there to hang out with Mark and Pete, and I didn't really even know he was out there. Man, it was late. God, dog. And we were just kind of messing around, and Pete's like, "Hey, come in. I want to show you something." And we're walking into one of the trailers in the back set, and we walk in, and he's still in costume and burned up looking and everything like that. I walk around that corner, and every character he's played just flashed right through my head. And I mean, I don't know how many times we've done Jack Burton, Snake Blit. I mean, just kind of Wyatt Earp. And this is the first time, well, with Will too, because I'm a big Will Smith fan. So those two, and I don't geek out and like, oh, yeah, this, that, and the other. But I was like, "Sir, it's really good to meet you." And I was going to bail right after that. And he goes, "How you doing?" He goes, "I heard a lot about you." I was like, "Well, I hope pretty good." And I kept trying to leave. For whatever reason.
I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here.
Before I do something stupid.
I totally probably could screw that up if I, he's probably like, "What's his problem?" I was ready to hang out with him and got the hell out of there. I was just, man. And he sat me down and he's like, how you doing with all this? And started asking me questions and giving me lessons on just being in the public eye and what to take and what to laugh off.
Dude, you got mentored by Snake Plissken.
Listen, hey, man, he kind of tractor beam sucked me right in, man.
Oh.
Melanie was there. I was like, "Get out of here." I didn't do that. I was just kidding.
I love it. I love it.
I should tell it like, then he was wanting me to leave. I was like, "Well, now that I'm here, let's crack one of these beers." We had opened up a beer, man, and just kind of gave me and it got to one of them deals where I wouldn't even listen to him as it was Kurt Russell, man. I kind of, how it works. When you stand next to one of them guys that like a father that starts teaching you stuff. When you get older, you recognize it right away. I just shut my mouth and did what you're supposed to do.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Right to that. And walked out of there, man, just grinning like a shit-eating possum. That was great.
I love it.
All right. So if you don't know what Herb Brooks looks like right now, mentally picture swap in Kurt Russell. Here we go. He was notorious for his demanding and often ruthless coaching style. After whittling his Olympic team down to its final roster in 1979, he has stretched the players' bodies to the limit with a battery of practice matches and lung-busting skating marathons. He had a particular penchant for wind sprints, which the players endured so often they nicknamed them Herbies.
Great name for those.
Herbies.
Brooks' methods were often brutal, but they also proved effective. The team that met the Soviets on February 22nd was in peak physical condition, and they had learned to play in an elegant, Russian-inspired style that emphasized possession and crisp passing along with crunching body checks. Before the Americans entered the rink, Brooks addressed them in the locker room. "You were born to be a player," he said. "You were born to be here. This moment is yours." Shortly after 5 p.m., the puck dropped in front of 8,500 flag-waving spectators in Lake Placid's Olympic Center. The Soviets started the game strong, buzzing through the American defensive zone and leveling several shots at goaltender Jim Craig's net. After 9 minutes, winger Vladimir Krutov deflected the puck into the goal and gave the Russians a 1-0 lead. The Americans answered only 5 minutes later when Minnesota native Buzz Snyder scored with a stunning 40-foot slap shot.
40 feet.
The Soviets later restored their advantage through Sergei Makarov, and Craig was forced to make several saves as the clock wound down. The Russians looked set to head into the break with the lead, but with only a second left in the first period, U.S. center Mark Johnson pounced on the rebound, drove the puck past Krediak, and the match stood leveled at 2-2. I've never ever experienced that kind of emotion and the kind of adrenaline rush that I felt in the room after the first period, forward Eric Strobel later told Wayne Coffey. It was like your skates weren't even touching the ground. The score unnerved Soviet coach Viktor Tikhonov, who made the rash decision to pull world-renowned Tretiak and replace him with Vladimir Mushkin in goal. His team came out in the second period looking for blood. They reclaimed their advantage after a shot from Alexander Matslev rang off the post and into the American net. The Soviets besieged Craig's goal for the next several minutes, forcing him into a flurry of sparkling saves. By the time the period ended, the Russians held a 3-2 lead. They had outshot the Americans by a total of 30-10.
Oh, crazy.
30-10.
Crazy.
A nervous silence descended on the arena as the third and final period began. Time was slipping away, and it felt like an eternity since the Americans had last threatened Michigan's goal. Relief came after 8 minutes when Mark Johnson caught up to a loose puck, blasted it between the pipes for his second goal of the night. Only a minute and a half later, team captain Mike Rizzioni came off the bench and immediately hammered a 25-foot shot past Michigan to make it 4-3. The stadium roared back to life. Now we have Bedlam, ABC television announcer Al Michaels yelled into his microphone. The U.S. team had their first lead of the night, but there were still 10 agonizing minutes left to play. Russians began skating and passing with renewed urgency, dancing past the hard-checked Americans and firing shot after shot at Craig's goal. "Play your game," Brooks yelled as his players defended for their lives.
Ford that comes back to center ice. 37 seconds left in the game. Petrov with it. The Americans on top, 4-3. Long shot. Craig able to get a piece of it to sweep it away. 28 seconds. The crowd going insane. Karlamon shooting it into the American end again. Morrow is back there. Now Johnson, 19 seconds. Johnson over to Ramsey. Leonov gets checked by Ramsey. McClanahan is there. The puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Are you kidding me, dude?
That's awesome.
Are you kidding? Like, I wanted to stand up right now. I saw Marcus was getting out of his chair. I saw you smiling the whole time. Bro, you cannot beat that at all, dude. You cannot beat that. I mean, that's America. That's the underdog. Well, listen, I think that was about as good a lead up as we have ever done for one of our guests. So,
Let's just say a little bit about what happened to him after the game right there, just so we can understand.
Oh, good point.
He went on to play a professional career with, he was in Atlanta with the Bruins. He also played for the Minnesota North Stars. After that, he worked for a couple companies, very successful salesman with a company called Velasas and Hat Trick Group. But following that and currently, he's with Gold Medal Strategies, which is a Boston area-based promotions and marketing firm. And he's a motivational speaker.
Renowned speaker.
Yeah. It says he has inspired, instructed, and provided strategic and winning direction for employees and associates for more than 300 organizations.
That's big time, man. Big time. What do you say, gents? Let's get them on.
Yeah, let's do it.
USA! 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 And don't give me those looks, you two. You know every time we get that on, I have to bring it out. It's in me. It's percolating in every orifice in my body and every proton and electron in my whole existence, man. And today, listen, where I first learned that, where I first really felt it come out of me is embodied in the man that is on with us right now. Do you feel me, brother? Do you feel me?
I got it right. I feel you, man. From there,
I think we're all feeling it.
Because guys like us, the line that we walk, the patch on the arm is just not a patch on the arm, right? There are guys out there who motivate us to do that. just to step on the line and do the job we do, probably, I mean, that's a nightmare, right? But if you got somebody who shows you how prideful it is to be an American and what that means, I'm honored to have him on here too.
So let's bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the one, the only, Jimmy Craig. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Great intro there. It was really inspiring.
Well, it's either inspiring or I'm nuts. Those are usually the two things I get from people, but...
It's literally like this all the time, sir. Seriously. Earlier when we were trying to explain to you how this goes down, we have to tone him back just so you can get a kind of a general idea of what's about to happen here. But here we go, brother.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
I think you guys probably know that probably one of the greatest things you can have is, and I remember it clearly, is when you walk into a locker room and all of a sudden you have a jersey hanging up, and that jersey has 3 letters, USA, in the front. And when you're lucky enough, you get to put your name in the back, and they kind of assign you a number, which is almost like a position and a job and a responsibility. But I'll tell you, I remember the first time I ever got a chance to wear that sweater. It was pretty exciting.
Oh, my God. I mean, I'd come right out of it. I'd still have mine on.
Man, that's always anything growing up when we played baseball, so whatever it was as kids. When you saw the team walk by that had USA on it, you're like, oh, man, how do you get on that, right? Because you didn't even know what they did. You just knew they were a team that represented this country, man. They must have been really good. Right? And you're just like,
really good.
God, man, these people are great at whatever they do.
Right.
I don't even know what it is.
But before we get sucked too far into that, sir, we've got to start with what we call the Mad Minute. So we're going to hit you with some great questions to loosen up, to stretch out, to get the hammies warm, and have some fun doing it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Marcus, fire away.
High school mascot.
Tiger.
That's a good one, man.
You can't go wrong with a tiger, dude. All right, Wizard, go.
What was the last book you read that you really enjoyed?
Let's see. I could say Lone Survivor, but that would be kind of corny, right?
I know that guy.
It's a good story.
The Power of Habit.
Oh, I like that one.
Not familiar. What's that
great.
about? Other than Power of Habit.
It's basically tells you if you do something long enough, it becomes a habit, good, bad, or indifferent. It's almost like influences. In your life, there's either positive, negative influences.
So I got a question. How long is the amount of time it takes to create a habit is the difference to break one? Or I guess it depends on the habit,
Yeah,
right?
it's about the
Interesting
same.
question.
It's like 3 weeks.
Yeah, 2-3 weeks. That's what I thought. Man, you want to get rid of something, just knuckle it up for 3 weeks. You're good to go.
Well, remember, there's also a level of behavioral change that has on a deeper rooted psychological level. So, if you're talking extreme changes in who you are and all those things, I mean, it can. The estimates are from 6 months to 3 years.
Yeah, but it's not really that. It's identifying that it's a habit.
Absolutely.
It's not a discipline.
Well, we can do a whole show on that.
A whole show on that.
Right,
You're coming back on.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, all right,
brother.
next.
What was your first car?
It was I still have it. It's a 320i BMW.
Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
Huh.
Is that the 2-door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the gold
Nice.
pinstripe?
Wizard.
All right, if you could go back in history and spend a week with any one person, who would it be?
My father.
That's cool. That's
I was
super cool.
lucky enough to have him be my best man at my wedding, and my son got married last year, and I was his best man. And it's really funny and you guys know this better than anybody, but when I always tell people there's no loyalty in leadership, and what happens is when you're a father and you have a son, you have to be their father, not their friend. But when they get older, they can become your friends, and it's nice when that transitions. And so I'd like to go back.
My father said that same thing to me. He goes, "I'm not I can't be your friend. I'm your father. You're the only two I can't be a friend to." And he was great to all my boys on my crew. Loved hanging out with him, and it's so true. As when I became a man, is actually when everything kind of leveled out with us.
Yeah, for me, the big pivotal moment is when I got my trident, and I gave my first trident to my dad, and I said, "Dad, this is for all the support you gave me for all the years." And And it was in that moment that you made that transition where that mutual respect kind of was established. Really cool moment.
You know what I love about the SEALs is you realize that the accomplishments that you make are not individual, they're collective. But not only that, it's through other people's sacrifice. And you seem to seize the opportunity. So I've always felt the connection that the reason we are where we are and we do what we do is because we took advantage of other people's sacrifice.
Amen. Absolutely.
I never knew I was special until I joined the Navy. And they told me I was. It's Special Forces right across the deal there.
All right, fire away, Marcus. Last Mad Minute question.
Favorite superhero? I need to know that one.
Batman.
Ooh,
right on.
Ooh, Jimmy's a Batman guy. I love it. I love it. Just so you know,
because I'm one of 8, and my 3 younger brothers. I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters, and
you got the Justice League.
I was the 6th one born, and my brother Kevin was 7, and Danny was 8. So I was Batman, Danny was Robin, and Kevin was the Joker. So we were able to entertain ourselves.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Let me hit him with one more question.
Right.
I want to hear a bucket list item that you still have outstanding.
I want to go on a safari with my wife.
Very cool.
I can lay out the best places to go, brother, man, in South Africa. I mean, those things are...
You spent a ton of time over there hunting, right?
I hunted right when I got out. That's what I did.
All right.
5 or so years, man. I can hook you up with
that.
Awesome. All right. So that's our mad 10 minutes, as everybody kind of points out to us. But the reason we're here, sir, is for one main reason, is our listeners come to our podcast religiously and are devoted followers because they're here searching for some type of spark, some type of story that will ignite something inside them so they can go out and have their greatest never quit moment. So they can forge a never quit mindset and build a team so they can experience life like our guests have. So without further ado, sir, could you please share with our incredible fans, our incredible listeners, your greatest never quit story or stories?
Well, it probably hasn't happened yet because in life, you have to reinvent yourself so many different times. And, I always think you never quit starts with a dream. So you have to have enough courage to dream that you're going to do something. And I think there's a big difference between dreamers and dreams, because a dreamer just wants somebody else to do it. But when you're actually dreaming of doing something, so I think the first time with me is, I had 3 dreams when I was a young boy, that I was going to get a full scholarship to college, I was going to become an Olympic athlete, and I was going to play in the National Hockey League. And all those dreams came true because I told people what they were, and they helped me by either holding me accountable or whatever. But along the way, there was a lot of times that you didn't think that was possible. And I remember the first time when I was in high school, I was 5'3" and I weighed 130 pounds going into my senior year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody believed in that dream that I had, that I was going to be a full scholarship college hockey player. But, in life, you get mentors. And, these people realize that you don't win with talent, you win with people. And great coaches and great mentors see what's inside people, and they have the ability to inspire them and pull that greatness out of them.
Amen.
And and what was really funny is here I am, 5'3". I go to Boston College because I was from New England and Irish Catholic, and I just remember the coach saying to me, you're a fine young man, but you should stick close to home. And then I went to a Division II school, another Catholic school in St. Anselm's, and the coach there says, you're a really nice young man. You should stick close to home. And then I ran into this guy who his name was Neil Higgins. He was an All-American goalie that tried to play professionally out of Boston College. And he got his first coaching job. And he had seen me play, and he said, "Listen, Jimmy, I'd like you to come." But the school he wanted me to go to was a community college in a very rural area that, didn't have hockey. And I remember that, I might have thought I was better than that school. And he told me something that I'll never forget. He said to me, "I know exactly what you want, and I know how to help you. So if you can make a commitment to the unknown, I'm going to help you get there. But if you don't think this is the best opportunity you've ever had in your life, I don't want you to come."
Wow.
And so I went. I grew 7 inches in 1 year. We won a national junior college championship. And then I was recruited by Boston University and offered a full scholarship. But the fun part was the biggest rival that Boston University has is Boston College.
Right.
And I personally got to play against them 14 times. We won 14 times. One was a national champion.
Unbelievable.
The best part was after every game we would go through the line and shake hands. And that coach who told me I was a nice young man that should stick close to home was still there. And the coach who was at the other school came down to be the associate head coach there. So for 14 times, I got to walk through their line and shake their hands and said to him, "Thank God I wasn't good enough to go to your school."
Awesome! That is awesome.
I stayed close to home.
But what's really interesting is, I always love the terminology "winning underdog."
Yes.
And I think what the listeners really have to understand is that in your life you have two choices. You can be the victim or the victor. It's just your choice. It's an attitude. And the winning underdog part, you guys say the only easy day was yesterday, or you got to have a chip on your shoulder. Well, a winning underdog just refuses to lose, and failure isn't an option, just like you guys always say. So I really think that what people misinterpret is life is difficult, and you're going to be challenged. And I could give you 10 more examples where I was challenged, where I could have made the choice of being the victim, but I chose not to.
Wow. What's really interesting is that the way your mentor at that JUCO got to you and what he said, and how come you were able to put faith in him? What was it about the way he made the connection with you? Because I think with a lot of people, there's a lot of reluctance out there nowadays that's bred into our society. It's bred into our people trying to pull one over on us, so they're not as apt. And in the speaking, and I work with a lot of young kids and do similar things in terms of mentoring. There's kind of like a barrier of acceptance. So for you, what was the thing that you saw in this man to want to go all in for him, Jimmy?
Well, when I was a young boy, my mother told me something that always stuck with me. And her comment was, "You can always recover from the truth." And so when you really look at things and you see what it is, you can tell if somebody really cares. You can't mentor someone that doesn't care. Somebody can ask you to, but you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. It's just not possible.
At all.
And I just felt as though that, in my generation, fear drove us, right? And I think what we forget about the young kids today is success can be your biggest enemy. And, when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot. And so failure was something people were used to, so you kept trying and trying. But when you're expected to win and you're expected to do well, the kids today, that's an awful lot of pressure. And people who haven't been in that situation of the person who is expected to do well and, bred to be well or came from a family that does well, those pressures are just as bad and just as overwhelming as somebody who comes from nothing.
Interesting. I agree for sure.
Kind of like pain. Pain is relative to the person going through it.
Absolutely.
It's still pain, right?
Right. Just like that pressure is.
Yeah.
And it's all based on the person. All right. Once can you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't try and lead the direction of this towards, obviously, being on the United States Olympic hockey team, but staying in line with your never quit story and being recognized, what was the next stage for you and your growth, not only as a player, but also as a member of a team that was challenging? So as you guys were selected and came together in the various egos, what was going through your mind and all that?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I remember the first time I went to Boston University. You don't go to Boston University out of a community college. It just doesn't happen. You're a really highly touted Canadian who's played juniors, or you've gone to a very private prep school. So I remember the first time I went to Boston University, and the equipment guy, I went down to get equipment. He says, he didn't even know my name. And then the guys on the team would say, what prep school is Massasoit? And had never heard of it. And then you'd say, what part of Canada is Massasoit? And it's like,
real private,
it's a
real
two-year
private
community college,
Exclusive.
So I really think what really happens and people forget, it's passion.
Yeah.
I think so many people drive the passion out of their kids before they even know what passion is. And so I think the biggest part is, I say this all the time. When I'm out and speaking in front of big business groups, I said, you need to make your team every year.
Cool.
And that attitude is you should be okay with that. See, in sport, they draft, they trade, they try to have somebody take your job all the time. But the only thing you have to do is do your job better than the other guy. And that's competition. And so I think what I really enjoyed is I loved to compete. It told me a little something about myself. When I was nervous, it was probably because I didn't prepare properly. And so I don't know if this is one of your sayings or not, but I always say, as long as I'm prepared, I expect to win.
Absolutely.
And, and a guy asked me one time when I was playing, goes, when you were playing the Russian, you were afraid to lose. I was never afraid of losing. I never thought of losing. And I think what you guys know probably better than anything else, you have to be part of something bigger than yourself.
Amen to that.
You have to learn that you need to win collectively, not individually. Great teams always beat great individuals.
Well, that was kind of, in everything that I have read or watched or done research on or understand with the Olympic team, that was the greatest hurdle for you guys, is how do you overcome that and begin to work together? Can you describe that process on how Coach Brooks forced that, or how you guys forced it?
I get that question a lot too. How do you become a team?
Right. All the time, right?
Especially with a bunch of alphas. If you got a bunch of strong heads running around and you want to throw, a lot of people think like, oh, we have all the best players in the world. They're right here. We're going to put them together. They're going to be a great team. Man, that's not how that works.
Well, all-star teams fail because they fail to play within a system. So you can't have somebody that doesn't understand what the rules are. Our coach had a great line. I asked Coach Brooks one time, I said, Herbie, how come you don't have a lot of rules? And he said, Jimmy, because the best players break them.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Write that down.
That is awesome.
I'm stealing that one, putting in the old mental Rolodex.
But what happens is you have to have goal. You are what your goals are, and so what you have to do is you have to inspire people. And I was at a talk one time, and they watched the movie Miracle, and there's a part in the movie Miracle where our team skates over and over and over again. And this gal from GE who ran a couple divisions said, Jimmy, I have two questions for you. One is, why did it take your team so long to follow what the coach wanted? And the second question was, when did you guys get it? And so I said, before I can answer those questions, I have to ask you one. I said, who do you think our coach was punishing? And she said, the players. And I said, no, our assistant coach. He was becoming too friendly. You can't, there's no loyalty in leadership. He's in a leadership role. He has to lead this thing. So he couldn't blow the whistle. He didn't like that part. So he was making him stronger and better in a leadership role. He was developing not just his players, but also his coaches. And then she said to me, and I said, follow our coach. I said, we didn't follow him. We believed him.
Yeah.
And so you can't go risk your life just because it's a cool thing to do and there's a high or there's it's exciting or whatever the hell it is. You do it because you believe in the men or the women that are part of your team, and you accept the fact that you've been put in this position because the mission is that important.
Absolutely.
So you realize this is bigger than yourself. This is something bigger than yourself. And you accept that responsibility.
What made Coach Brooks so believable?
Well, he had played. He had failed. He was the last player cut in 1960. He went on and he played in 2 different Olympic Games. I mean, I'm about done with a book called We Win, which really explains why what we did was not a miracle and all the preparation that Herb Brooks went into. He studied the Russians. They were doing overspeed and disruption training. They weren't only doing it physically but mentally. I don't know if you guys ever tried that espresso bike out now versus the Peloton, right?
Yeah.
The espresso bike makes you steer it. Take a look at it. It gives you a ghost. You have to compete against yourself. It's everything that a competitor needs. It isn't about singing, standing up, dancing, and having a good time. Work is hard. Life is hard.
Well,
Being the best is hard.
We talk about that all the time. You go out and people ask us, what makes Navy SEALs so great? Why can you go do the missions that you're asked to do? Why, that nobody else wants to do? And the answer is true because we put the time, the effort, the pain in to perform those basics as close to perfection. And when called upon to do it, we have such a willingness to sacrifice for each other in order to gain the respect of one another that we're able to accomplish what seem like overwhelming things to the average person.
It's repetitive motion. I mean, what we repeat, start, go through it, hit our target, start from the beginning, and over again with each other. And exactly, and then
small.
Just keep moving through that to where the it's like a dance, man. It's like you're dealing with one body right there. A whole bunch of guys have come together, and they literally move like one. One person through everything we train for over and over again. And that's what happens if you're not just special and you just can just knock that out of the park, man. You can be trained tactically to overwhelm anybody.
Absolutely.
I think, Marcus, what you're talking about, though, is you have to have the people, you have to recruit the people with the right character, right? And the biggest disappointment anybody I could imagine being part of your team would be is, I've got children, and you can yell at them, you can do anything you want, but if you say, I'm disappointed, that's a killer.
Oh, man, that crushed you right there, especially with somebody that you look to for guidance and everything. Man,
so if one of your SEALs looks at you and says, I'm disappointed, man, there's nothing worse than that, right? Nothing.
That or getting taken over the berm and having the snot beat out of you. That's pretty bad, Jimmy. I'm telling you from experience, that one sucks too.
Get some Milvan counseling.
I'd rather
Let me talk to you real quick.
He would do that to me too, man. He would give me the disappointed thing. I'd be like, hey, man, I'd rather take an ass whooping.
I've been at Hell Week. I've been there. I've seen the guys in the tank underneath as they're watching you. I've seen the guys acting like they're lifting the logs. You can tell. You know the ones that are going to make it or not. I mean, you look at it now, I have a whole thing in my book called Managing Through Ego and Conflict, right? You know what ego is?
What is
Ego
it?
swagger. Conflict is change. All you have to do is manage it. You want ego and conflict, but you want to be able to manage it. So great teams have a lot of swagger. So that means there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of conflict because it's never good enough. Everybody's trying to do it a little better, right?
Sure.
But when it comes time to play, whether you like somebody or not, you got to respect them, right?
I don't think respect is a given, though.
You have to earn it.
You got to earn it.
If you don't respect someone, it's a problem. And
sure.
two words that are interesting for me, right? Two words, right? A lot of people say issues, and I say obstacles. See, issues are problems. Obstacles can be overcome.
For sure.
Right? If you're laying there and you got to crawl for 7 miles and all your buddies have been shot down, right? And you think of all the issues that you have to deal with, it might overwhelm you.
Sure.
But if you start knocking down the obstacles, before you know it, there's a solution, right? Sometimes you have to believe, and you have to use your instincts, right? And you have to do something else that makes you different than everybody else, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? So you're put on this earth to do certain things, and sometimes we're just a vehicle. We don't know why.
Of course.
That's a very profound concept and I've heard a few other interviews where you bring that point up. I've got a quick story to get to a point and ask you a question about something that's beyond that takes you into that inspirational space of a particular time and moment and a trigger. So I went to one of those ridiculous expensive prep schools you talked to. I did a postgraduate year, and there was a kid that was there who's from Montclair, New Jersey. His name is Brian Lonsinger, whose entire life changed the day he watched you guys win. He was a football player prior to that. Watching after the Olympics, he told his father, I want to play hockey. They went out, he started skating, he became a hockey player, he got a full scholarship to go to Choate. From Choate, he went to Harvard. The first kid in his entire family to go to college. He goes to Harvard. He becomes the captain of the Harvard hockey team. He wins a national championship, and he gets a tryout with the Rangers. All because of that moment of what you guys did for the rest of us. Now, that burden is profound. Does it weigh on you anymore, or do you kind of take, like, because I hear you saying, man, we're born unto greatness. We just have to figure it out. And whatever that inspiration might be, it seems now, Jimmy, you're a guide for people towards that. Do you appreciate that responsibility? Do you like it? Or is it something that kind of weighs you down?
Well, everybody needs mentors. I think the biggest thing in my lifetime, if somebody didn't take the time to have an interest in me and mentor me, then who knows where I would have went, how I would have got. And so I don't go so far as to say it's a responsibility, and I don't go so far as to say it's an obligation. But for me, it's an appreciation for everybody's got pioneers. What I hate is when I hear professional athletes who are no longer playing get upset because the ones today are making more money. Well, they were complaining when the ones before them helped them make more money. And so now, whether it's you and they treat you better as a SEAL, or they give you better equipment, or they give you better tools to do your job, those are all parts from people finding out through trial and error and what needed to be done. And so I look at it this way, whether it's the young goalie that has cancer that I keep in touch with through the text and just cheer him up, or there's so many things every single day that we do. And so if I can be that one positive moment, or if I could be that one inspiration that helps someone decide to get off that fence on the right side being influenced versus the wrong side of being influenced, then it's great. It's a great day.
Awesome. How have did the experience shape the friendships for the rest of your life with those other men? Did you remain close? Did you lean on each other as pro careers came and went, or pro careers didn't happen? Guys went out and sold insurance or whatever it might happen. Did you guys stay connected over the years?
Well, first is, that was a chapter in our lives. I think what people forget is you might write a great chapter in your life, but after a while, people don't want to keep read the same thing or hear the same story, right? And so you need to create different chapters of your life. All the guys on our team did that. The moment that we were together and what we will accomplish collectively is what our legacy is. That's really cool. The friendships that we had, the commitments, the work, the hard work. Herb Brooks told us something that he said, nobody has ever worked hard enough to beat the Russians. We will. Nobody has ever challenged them at their strengths. We will. And so when you are part of something that special, you win something nobody thinks you can, and on that journey there, you realize that you can't do it by yourself. You have to have everybody do their job, right? So in the movie, Brooks says, play your game, play your game. He said, do your job. I always tell people when something is overwhelming, you got to compartmentalize it. You've got to make it something that you're able to handle emotionally, physically, whatever it is. So for me, when we played the Russians, I just thought playing the Russians would be equivalent to play 3 games against any other team. 1 period against them would be like playing a game against someone else. So I broke it into 3 games of 4 5-minute periods. It was something that I could handle. And I think when our guys and the collectiveness that we have, we're always friends. We're always there. But we've gone on and we've started other chapters of our lives.
Very cool. Very cool.
Hey, I want to kind of go a little bit deeper into that, and as far as I want to ask about intimidation. At least in the movie and what we've read, there was the element of you were playing professionals. These guys were legendary, players. And when you stepped on that ice, was that intimidating? I assume it had to be. If so, how did the team go about overcoming that? Or what was the team's mindset, would you say, when you stepped on that ice?
Well, first, you have an objective and a goal. You're representing your country, and you're trying to win a gold medal in your own country.
That's heavy there.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, right?
Absolutely.
And then you realize, instead of getting all flustered, is that if you're a forward and you're a center, out of that 60 minutes, you're only going to play about 14. So you go out and you concentrate really hard at doing your job. And, and I imagine with you people, it's the same way. You can't get emotional. You have to be strategic. Your emotions have to be in check. You have to be prepared, and just when you're playing with a great team in the first 5 minutes, there's really no difference between the two. You can't really tell. But as the game goes on, the difference in talent becomes obvious, and so sometimes other players have to do a lot more work at their position or their job than others to maintain that opportunity. And then if you can hang in there long enough, you can outwill them.
Interesting.
And then when it starts to get close, all of a sudden, it's the ones who want it the most. And sometimes people get so used to winning, they forget how important winning is.
Interesting. Can you expand a little bit more on willpower and help our listeners understand how you generate willpower, how you specifically generated willpower, not only in that moment, but in your life, in raising your kids, as a professional player in college? What did you tap into to build willpower in those moments of opportunity?
Well, first, I always ask questions. I always tried to play and compete with people better than I was. I enjoyed that tremendously. But then, if you think of a goalie's position, right? He can't or she can't win a game. They can only lose a game. So it's different. You can't get excited and run around and hit someone and do that. You can only do what comes your way. And so I liken the position of goal, and sometimes people in their life, if anybody remembers the Terminator, when he first came into the room, he'd look at that situation and say, there's 10 things that could happen. And then he had cut them down so he could focus on the one that was going to happen, right? So as a goalie, people say stop the puck. Well, yeah, that's obviously your goal. But the other thing is you have to know the strengths and weaknesses of your teammates so that you can utilize those skills to make yours even better. And I've never been a Navy SEAL, but I can't imagine that's not the tactic and the thoughts that you guys have, is understanding what the strengths and the weaknesses are, and then putting those people in the right positions to succeed, and then you empower them. And once you've empowered them, then they start believing in each other. And after you believe in each other, I always tell people the impossible becomes possible when you believe.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Amen to that. I
Absolutely.
love that concept. I preach that just perpetually to people, that you have to move into that position of higher belief, right? And faith in the person that's next to you is going to do their job to the best they can. And it's kind of, I love the way you were talking about it in terms of from the goal out perspective. And my collegiate lacrosse coach used to say, hey, we win games from the goal out. And a concept of a great fortified plan and of defense moves into a more strategic offense, and really being able to capitalize on the other team's weaknesses as well, too, man. I really like the way you described that, sir. All right.
Well, the part that I think is important, too, that I think people need to understand is, you don't have to do anything more than what you're capable of. But what really kills teams is when you're not doing what you're capable of. And what makes teams special is not only do you do what you're capable of, but when called upon, you do even more.
Huh. Are you saying that based on that higher level of belief in your team, your teammates, the overall purpose, i.e. being on the Olympic hockey team, when you're called to arms, so to speak, that passion, that purpose, it actually can elevate your performance threshold? You can go an extra couple notches higher?
Well, if you got that, if you recruited that right type, but when you really get to that elite, they're there. You see it. They have it. You can't describe it. You just know what it is.
I think what you're talking about is it's a whole lot of details that you can't necessarily define. It's the conglomeration of all these things that's what this it is. You sense it, even though you perhaps cannot objectively define the difference in each all of these little qualities. I think that's the case. You can tell when someone is on point without actually seeing a full spectrum of their performance.
I agree, for sure. You're spot on with that. One of the wild things, and one of my biggest heroes in sports is John Wooden. And John Wooden, his pyramid of success, as well as the way he is able to identify that and really maximize the performance thresholds of his players. So he would push that kid, even if they were the seventh man off the bench, he would get the most he could out of that player. Was Herb Brooks like that?
But you know what people forget, right? A coach's job is not to identify who's good or bad. A coach's job is to make every player better every day.
I dig it.
Yeah, I think that's right in line with what you were saying.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but the point is the biggest thing, and I'm assuming this because I don't know that, but I would guess that in your line of work as SEALs, that holding people accountable was probably the biggest code you had. Know your job, do your job, right? Held people accountable. It's when you don't hold teammates accountable that other teammates get upset. So accountability isn't always negative. Accountability is just factual. And that's why I keep going back and say there's no loyalty in leadership. But that doesn't mean you don't love people and you're not loyal to them. That means that when you are in that leadership role, which is really hard, and not everybody's meant to be a leader, right? You have to separate what's best for the team versus who you like as an individual. And coaches' jobs are to make every player better. Bill Belichick's a great friend of mine, and if Tom Brady goes down tomorrow, his job is to win. He gets another game plan, pays attention, changes tactics, right?
Yep.
There's always a way to win. It's just not always the same.
Interesting.
Well, that's the best part about being on a team, and you have your dream, and then you open your eyes, you look in the direction, you find the other people who have the same dream, and then you hook up with them and you start living your life. And that experience through age gives perspective. That is, man, is just that's the best part about it, because you're in the same field. And follow me on this. See if I can't put this together, but they're not afraid to tell the younger guys to get their shit together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you're standing there next to your boy, if you're both rookies, you're kind of like, man, hey, you need to do this. Like, hey, rookie, you know what I'm talking about? You just got here too. But when you have the new guys, right, the one platoon wonders, and then all the way up through the LPO and the chief who's cranking it down, it's that responsibility to each other. And it gets to the point to where, man, you just feel. You go in, you work out every day to make yourself as best as you could possibly be for the guys around you.
Amen.
Because it's just, they expect that. That's just like an unwritten rule. And same thing with you guys. With us, man, when we come off holiday or whatever, if some of the guys are out of shape in that first run, then the jokes fly a little bit like, hey, man, you just kind of, whatever, look at that gut, or get the little pinch. You're out of shape, next workout, a couple weeks down the road, man.
You're done.
The jokes it gets rough. So, we police ourselves because we know how important the job is.
Well, it's holding an uncompromised standard.
I like that. Great description, Wizard. Well, Jimmy, before we sign off here, and again, thank you for, your incredible contribution to what you do for a living and all the help that you're giving so many people out there. What are a few things that you can share that can really kind of ignite the fire in someone's gut that's listening to the show right now, that's struggling to get into the game, that's struggling to get into the fight, they're not sure which direction to travel? What are some few ideas that can light that spark and start the momentum for them to figure out what this never quit mindset is all about within them?
I do two quotes. I like quotes because it makes people think and they interpret it whatever the way they want. So the first one I would say to the audience is either you're creating the future or you're living in the past. And if you're living in the past, that's as good as it's ever going to be, the past.
Wow. And
then I always tell people is that you focus on the future, but you learn from the past. And so whatever situation you're in is if you decide that you want to take charge and create the future, a new chapter in your life, then you just have to hang around the right people. You have to find the right mentors.
I love
and
it.
in life, there's always influencers, but there's good influences and there's bad influences. So you have to choose to hang around people who are going to be a positive influence on you.
Great mentoring.
Yeah.
Great mentoring.
We call it, I call them pillars, right? For whatever reason, and guys, we really don't talk about this a lot, but there's men in our life that teach us actually and develop us into the men we're going to become. And it's kind of funny because sometimes you got to walk and be the man you're not to become the man you are. And it's those guys and those men in your life that help you with that.
That's right.
I love it.
Hey, when I was at that at Coronado and they went by and they have that temperature where they go by, they can tell the people's temperature and stuff like that. That was pretty cool, all that technology. But I still can't believe tying them up, dumping them in that pool, and they're down there watching them. Man, that's a mental toughness that is just so incredible and awesome. And I was so excited to do this interview because, I just feel like you guys are a band of brothers. And, the thing I miss about playing is what I call the locker room because of that camaraderie, or the people holding you accountable, or, really, caring. And you guys are a special group of guys that I really enjoy, and all the things that you guys have done.
Well, sir,
Really appreciate that comment.
Yeah, thank you so much. That felt great to hear coming from, I think a person that all three of us consider was a part of perhaps one of the greatest teams in our nation's history, whether it was military, athletics, corporate, it doesn't matter. Again, I always center myself in the pride that I feel as American in the victory that you guys gave all of us as a collective team. So thank you, sir, for that, and thank you for what you've been doing for the last 30 plus years, and just thank you for the knowledge that you shared with our listeners today. It is a tremendous honor to have you on our show, so I appreciate it, sir.
All right, guys. Well, it was so enjoyable, and I learned a lot from all of you guys, so thanks for your help, too.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Take care. God bless you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. When you hear him talk about that space, like fire in the soul, I mean, when you hear him talk about mentors and you hear him talk about a collective, from my interpretation, right, of this one event that changed the course of his life, all the lives of the people on that, the lives of people that have gravitated towards that event, you start to hear, my gosh, yeah, it was just a little blip in his life. It was just a chapter, and there have been many a different, but man, what a profound chapter. I mean, the depth of what he was sharing and the certainty with which he shares it, I mean, that's powerful,
I love the encapsulation of the whole story in regards to team. From the formation of it through like the metamorphosis into an actual team, and then ultimately, I mean, everybody likes the happy ending, right?
Well, the best.
So it's
The best thing about the Olympics, man, is we get to celebrate when our guys win. We get to celebrate like we won, but we don't have to go through the pain and learn how to do it. You know what I'm talking about? Like
he's automatically on the team.
And we get the spirit, and they won, and they were screaming and yelling, so was I, and it was just the movie. When I was a kid, I didn't know what was going on watching it. Everyone else was losing their mind, but that's the great part about the Olympics, man. It doesn't matter what they're doing. If they got our flag on, you're like, oh,
dude, I love that.
My girls, the gymnastic girls, man, I get fired up when they get on the, because they train right next to the house,
you
man.
You talked about it in the Missy Franklin interview.
So, when they get out there and go to work, I get fired up, man. That's got to be the coolest feeling, man. Throwing that USA on and going over there and representing.
The pride you feel wearing a uniform and representing something that's bigger than yourself. That's huge.
Right?
I'm just so stoked, man, because, you have a guy like Jim Craig on, he's able to encapsulate his experience on a grander scale for people to be able to consume, to get going in their lives. And hopefully if you're listening, if your first show listening, we just can't thank you enough for joining us. If you're coming back for more, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Without you, there's no way we would be able to, have the partnerships that we do. Most importantly, our being a part of the Westwood One Podcast Network. Thank you so much, Westwood One, for allowing us to join your team. We're so appreciative of you guys. Now, what we want to do is just thank one of our sponsors, man. And this guy's Whoop. We're so excited to have them a part of us. Whoop is the human performance company that transforms how athletes understand their body and unlocks their inner potential. Designed for the 24-hour performance lifestyle, Whoop has built a system across hardware, analytics, and community used by the most elite athletes in the world to positively change behavior through actionable recommendations. The Whoop Strap 2.0 provides teams and individuals with a continuous and personalized understanding of recovery, strain, and sleep. Studies demonstrate Whoop can reduce injuries, prevent overtraining, improve performance, and improve performance. Join the best athletes in the world and learn more by visiting whoop.com. Now, gents, all of us in here recognize the power of monitoring the details of our performance, right? I mean, Marcus, we learned about it in 18 Delta. What about heart rate and everything else?
Oh, pulse rate, pulse pressure. It's amazing how far the technology's come back from the day when it was 2 fingers on the
And
throat.
your old carotid, right?
Right, and watching the old wrist there to around the chest. And now it has all that encompassed, because a lot of stuff you couldn't wear while you were asleep or in the water or anything else. So every generation that comes out of that tells you more and gives more.
And thank God for Whoop, man. I just started wearing mine last week, and already the data that it's showing me is incredible. Now, Wizard, you also have some information that you believe is pertinent to all performance.
Yeah. You know what's really cool about these wearable fitness trackers, particularly something like the Whoop, which we've been running around here for a little while, is that it takes a lot of that guesswork, the subjective nature, which can be really, it runs directly contrary to being efficient and really getting the most out of your workouts. I mean, it's something that affects pretty much everyone. If you're not able to get objective, defined data that is going to show you what you're accomplishing when you're working out, or even in recovery, which, you can wear the Whoop 24 hours when you sleep, then you can't really achieve and maximize your time, your efficiency in your workouts. And I think that's a fantastic advantage that people should be taking advantage of these days with something like the Whoop.
I'll tell you what, one of my favorite also aspects, and you can find all kinds of information, they had a group of our brothers, Navy SEALs, that did this incredible race. They skydived into the ocean, swam a couple miles to the shore, and put on plates and did a 100-mile run in under 24 hours, all while wearing the Whoop strap. Their whole experience is online. You can check it out. All right, here you go. Over the holidays, man, visit Whoop.com and take advantage of the special annual membership and save 20% off per month off the standard membership. That's 20% per month off the standard membership. And if you drop our promo code TNQP, you're going to get the first month on us. Go to Whoop.com. All right. Thank you again for showing up. We really pleasure to have you on. If you're back again, we love you. We appreciate you. We hope you took even more than you did the show before away from Jimmy Craig. And we hope you understand that, life is going to be hard. I mean, that's a reoccurring theme with all of our guests. But if you just put forth the effort, you can find that little bit of gold, right? You can find that little bit of gold that keeps you going, that experience, that drive to recognize that, hey, there is a space down the road where I will fulfill a goal and then be able to set the next goal and keep going in life with the never quit attitude. And we really appreciate that. So what we like to do at the end of most shows is we always ask that our listeners, if you're up for it, to send in your greatest never quit story. Really one that comes from the heart, or somebody that you truly love and care about, a teammate, send in their story. But we got this, I don't know, what was it, a couple days ago?
Yeah, this came in just a few days ago before we decided to record, and it's heavy. I mean, well, you're going to hear it.
In my estimation, this is why we do this show. So let me start out. This is from Matt. I wrote in last year about my never quit story, but I wanted to write in again. Not so sure you guys can share this on the podcast, but instead I'm writing to say thank you just to you three. I lost another friend to suicide the other day, making it the third friend I've lost within the last month and a half. I've had multiple injuries that have transformed into constant chronic pain, along with the fact that I am seeing double since my 5th eye surgery in May didn't work. I have a job that I absolutely hate, and I'm only going because it currently pays the bills and I haven't found another option yet. Long story short, I almost killed myself a month ago. I was tired of all the pain and seeing double, along with just letting the demons from my past take over from all the other setbacks I've encountered in the last several years. I had tried to fight everything off, and I'd lost all hope and energy to keep fighting. I remember it was in the early hours of the morning when I couldn't sleep. And I was letting the demons sink into my brain. I was laying in bed and my mind was telling me to get up and just go grab my gun and end it all. Quick and easy, and the suffering would be done. I remember this happened to be a Wednesday night, and I just listened to your podcast that featured Amber Lee Snyder. I thought about all of my issues and told myself it could be worse. It could be much worse. Luckily, I snapped out of it and told myself to quit being a bitch, to make it through the next day. The next day, I kept saying, keep taking baby steps. Don't focus on the overwhelming big picture. Rather, focus on thinking of the positive aspects and make it to the end of the day. That led to making it to the next Wednesday and listening to the new podcast. So every Wednesday, I get my motivation for the week to continue fighting. If I start to struggle again during the week, I would come back and listen to another podcast that really motivated me. Both Goggins episodes normally will do the trick. Goggins. Granted, I enjoy all of the podcasts, and I really enjoy hearing you all talk, laugh, and go down rabbit holes. Any episode will do. So no matter how bad things have become, with working a job that I absolutely hate, friends dying, seeing double for possibly the rest of my life, or just any other curveball life throws at me, I know that I can embrace the suck and stay in the fight. So thank you for everything that you, Marcus, David, and the Wizard do to give hope to others. You all saved my life. So for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Matt, you're welcome. Thank you for not killing yourself. Thank you for staying in the fight. And thank you for having the courage to write in.
I think, at least just speaking for myself, and humbled to have played some small role in that.
Amen.
And it's very inspiring to hear about that. And it's an encouragement to continue. And really what makes it such an honor to work on a project with y'all.
I just want to give thanks to God, Christ. I want to thank my children and my parents, my family. I want to thank Matt for writing in. I want to thank Jimmy for coming on. I want to thank all the Olympians that have inspired me. But most of all, I want to thank the two of you, because what we're doing is affecting people's lives, and it's an honor to sit across from you and to share this with you and be a part of this with you. So I want to thank you guys.
Yeah, brother, man, you figured it out, and you're on our radar now. We know about you. So welcome to the team. You got down the bottom, you figured out you're coming back up. I get that pain part too, brother, and the double vision with the eye surgeries, man, those are brutal, aren't they? And I'm seeing double. I remember all that. It's kind of no depth perception. It's kind of like looking underwater your whole entire life. Rocky had a good line. He's like, hit the one in the middle. Man, if you're seeing double, brother, just push through the middle. You get down on yourself, man, there's plenty of us out there that have been there. And when the wheels fall off or you drag a toe, man, that's kind of what we're here for. We're just kind of inspired by each other. So God bless you, man. Everybody who keeps bringing us back on here, it's unbelievable. Thank you for that. I'm out.
Out.
Never quit. Never quit. Never quit.